Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday check-in for Way of Life. I'm Michael Schechter, and I'm happy to facilitate today's check-in. And I'm joined, as usual, by Crystal Petrello, our Director of Nutrition Services, who's available to ask any questions that you may have that are more nutritionally related that I might fumble over. But today, it's a great day. It's hump day, and it's time for the check-in. And we're in week 11, so you're coming down to the home stretch of the Way of Life program, and you've developed a lot of skills, and we're going to talk about a lot of those today. You should have taken a look at week 11 materials, which talk about navigating special events, things like cookouts and being on vacation and traveling. And again, if you can keep that concept of the plate method in mind, you'll be doing a service for yourself and making sure that you load up on produce like fruits and vegetables, have a lean, healthy piece of protein on your plate, and then some grains, and preferably whole grains are the way to go. This week's challenge is to meditate for 5 minutes a day. And we went over meditation a few Wednesdays ago, but if you need some review on that, you can take a look at that Wednesday Way of Life check-in, or you can go to YouTube and find a nice video on the basics of meditation. And there are even apps out there to download to help you begin and develop the skill of meditation, which can become a lifelong skill. The final thing is the activity for the week, and the activity for the week is a recipe makeover. So making some healthy substitutions in your recipes that will turn empty calories into nutritious calories, or cut down on the amount of empty calories like sugar or white flour in the interest of some health and nutrition. Remember, food is a great pleasure in life, but it also can help us stay healthy if we use the right strategies. So that's the activity. And today's quick topic, today we're going to talk a little bit about weight loss maintenance, as you move toward the end of the Way of Life program. It's time to take an inventory of your skills and create a toolkit to allow yourself to keep these wonderful habits going and to maintain a healthier lifestyle by virtue of your new habits. Before we get into talking about these new habits, let's talk a little bit about what we know about weight loss maintenance. Well, there was a study done on a number of successful dieters, and these people were followed in a cohort for a number of years. And the weight loss range in these successful dieters varied between 30 and 300 pounds. And the time frame that they were followed was variable. But the purpose of this study was to identify and investigate the characteristics of individuals who have succeeded at long-term weight loss. And here's what we found, here's what the authors of the study found, that successful dieters definitely pay attention to the number of calories. Now, we don't have you count calories directly, but we have you establish sort of a sense of your calorie budget and how you did for a given day. And most of these people stayed obviously within the appropriate number of calories. Their food intake from day to day was generally consistent. They avoided empty calories. What are empty calories? Empty calories are foods that give us calories but don't have any nutritional benefit. And a can of Coke or a Hershey bar, even though they give us some pleasure, are great examples of empty calories. There's no fiber, there's no real nutrients, there's no vitamins, there's no bulk, there's no substance. Those are empty calories. Successful dieters generally started their day with some kind of breakfast to fuel and protect themselves from getting ambushed by hunger. They were consistently physically active, so they were exercising 60 to 90 minutes per day at least moderate intensity. They weighed themselves on a regular basis, usually at least weekly. They limited their screen time, and that's becoming more and more difficult these days. If they saw a problem, okay, they looked at a constructive approach, not a destructive approach. So they took corrective action if they had a small amount of weight gain, and they established a support network for themselves. If I were to sort of break these habits down into three categories, I would say understand your calorie budget. And we've talked a lot about establishing a calorie budget and how much exercise can add to that budget. And exercise, including cardiovascular exercise, strength training to preserve muscle mass, balance exercises, and flexibility exercises should all be part of your armamentarium now as you proceed throughout the rest of your life. And again, some kind of self-monitoring and also seeking support from others so people understand to give you a hand and give you some encouragement if you happen to have an issue. Now, they also found characteristics associated with unsuccessful weight loss or weight regain. And that really comes down to losing control. So disinhibited eating. I mean, again, sometimes we have a pizza in front of us and we want to eat 2 pieces and we end up eating 6, or, we want to have 1 scoop of ice cream and we end up, eating the whole darn carton, binging, feeling excessive hunger. So hunger that may be non-physical, maybe a more emotional hunger, but that's just out of proportion to what we might expect. And then finally, eating in response to negative emotions and stress. Those are the characteristics associated with weight regain. So it's really important to maintain that mindfulness. Remember your why, and we'll talk about those things in a second. The other thing that they did, and we talked about empty calories. Well, the opposite of empty calorie foods are nutrient dense foods. So these are foods that don't have a ton of calories, but they have a lot of nutrients, whether it's fiber, whether it's vitamins and minerals, whether it's protein, lean protein. And nutrient dense foods include vegetables and fruits. Whole grains are wonderful. Whole grains not only fill us up more, keep us full longer. They also protect us against developing diabetes, and they also protect us against developing intestinal problems, especially colon cancer. They're careful of how much dairy they eat. But dairy can be considered a nutrient-dense food, but it's also a calorie-dense food, so be careful. The rest of the foods on here, for the most part, again, are great examples of foods that fuel us, fill us up, and provide nutrients for us. So again, these are the kinds of foods we want to move into our diet, and we want to sort of displace things like soda pop, sweets and treats, red meats, really fatty foods, and have those as treats occasionally. This is a wonderful book by a fellow named Walter Willett. It's actually one of the first books I read when I started helping people on a track to better health. It's called Eat, Drink, and Be Healthy. And again, this is by a guy named Walter Willett, who's a Harvard trained physician and a wellness guru. And he does a wonderful job of balancing the concept of enjoying food, but also eating in a responsible manner. So if you need another source for inspiration, pick up Dr. Willett's book, Eat, Drink, and Be Healthy. Now, before we close, let me remind you, I know I sound like a broken record, but exercise is so doggone important. And again, when we looked at successful dieters, and this was just done in a journal called Obesity back in 2019, those researchers compared 3 groups of people, people who were able to maintain an ongoing healthy weight loss till they got to their goal, people who were unable to continue the weight loss, and finally, people that gained weight. And the underlying theme that these researchers found was that people who maintained physical activity, and again, I want you to go out there and sweat. I want you to be out of breath, and I want you to push yourself on a regular basis when you do your exercise. No more walking the dog in the park. I want you to push yourself, again, to the point of really, really working those muscles, improving your cardiovascular endurance and pushing yourself. So physical activity, very, very important. And I already showed you in other studies how physical activity can increase your calorie budget. And I showed you for a person my size and my age, vigorous activity versus a sedentary lifestyle accounts for 900 calories a day. You know, that's 4,500 calories a week. So that is a lot of extra food. So get out there and keep moving, and that will help you maintain the healthy habits that you've developed. So in summary, I want you to keep working on all of the skills that you've learned through the Way of Life program during the past 11 weeks. I understand it'll be a challenge, but remember, you know, you have a big toolkit of skills now: regular exercise, being mindful, practicing relaxation, letting your stress out in other ways besides stuffing it in your mouth, balancing the enjoyment of food, because it is one of our pleasures, with responsible portion sizes and nutritional content. And finally, practicing self-forgiveness and reminding yourself that tomorrow's another day and you can always get back on that horse. We got one more week, folks. Keep on tracking. And, remember, in order to accumulate points in the Way of Life app and in the program, you have to track. And you can only go back for exactly 3 days for tracking purposes. Again, sound a little like a broken record, but I'd like to get a t-shirt made: balance accountability with self-forgiveness. Again, when we blame ourselves for things, when we are highly critical of ourselves, it only leads to negative emotions and negative behaviors, whether it's eating or something else. So keep moving along. Remind yourself tomorrow's another day. Come back next week for a final check-in and a fond farewell. We'll talk about the wonderful certificates you'll get if you participated in the program and accumulated enough points. As always, you can reach out to us if you need help from one of our registered dietitians or our health coaches. If you have general questions, you can let me know. Way of Life at Be Well Solutions is one of the email addresses you can use. You can also use info@bewellsolutions.com for general questions. So until next week, keep on tracking and keep on exercising, and we will see you next week. Take care, everybody.